Welcome to Empowered by AI. I'm Michelle Muncie Silva. This podcast is for women building what's next and using AI with intention. In Season 7, you'll hear from founders, entrepreneurs, business builders who are redefining success, creating on their own terms, and moving with intention. We're learning from conversations about reinvention, identity, and taking action because every episode gives you ideas you can use immediately. Let's get into it. All right, Noemi,
Michelle,
founder of the Magister in the house.
thank you.
I am so excited to talk to you about your journey because I think it's really, really important that we make transparent some of the myths. Because so many times we see a product go live and we're like, oh, they just, it was so fast for them and it was so easy. And I think we need to really show that journey. So thank you for being willing to share your path.
My pleasure.
And I'm going to give you just a minute. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody about the magic that is you. And then we're going to dive into your founder's journey.
Okay, so my name is Noemi Reyes, and I am the founder of Magister and also developing the concept or the framework of courage first, then AI. I'm a systems thinker, leader, an AI builder, and I'm also an educator. Let's see, I also focus on helping people use AI without surrendering their purpose. So I really want not only for people to get comfortable using AI, but also really embrace their own values and their purpose as they do that.
And did you have a day job as you were creating all of this? Did you say you were in education? Tell me a little
No,
bit about your 9 to 5 reality.
my 9 to 5 reality is I actually work in government. So I work in public service and I work in the IT department as a management project lead. So essentially like a product manager. And I work in just basically managing several enterprise systems. So that's my 9 to 5, and I still have the 9 to 5. I'm committed to that. But I also have Magister going on the side, and I also have some consulting work that I do. And the consulting work is really in the industrial construction kind of realm. So big departure from the different things, but I'm very used to working in different disciplines. I started out as a pre-med and I ended up in business school. So it's a
Right?
journey, yeah.
I love it. I love it. I think that's more real than, oh, I knew exactly what I wanted to do from the first minute and I just stuck that one path. I
Right.
think it's more realistic that we've had
Mhm.
all of these different realities come into our world. What do you think that your industry life gives you that still serves you today as you're moving towards founder?
So when I started out in the corporate kind of realm, I did a lot of work with databases and a little bit of consulting, and it was a big mix of things. And so that kind of helped me understand how the back end of software works, even though I was not a developer. I just understood databases and how they worked. And so that really helped me think about when I develop any kind of product, like an app or anything like that, what goes into that and what feeds the structure for that product. So that background kind of helped me with that. And then also having just the overall knowledge of like, hey, I have a science degree, but I also have a business degree. And it was oddly complementary.
Yeah, yeah, especially as a founder, I would say, heck yeah.
Yeah.
But what surprised you most? Maybe it was an emotional surprise or it was in another area about building your project with Magister.
So the big surprise came from building with a purpose in mind instead of building with, oh, this would be cool. I built with having the idea that if I had to manage, for example, my educational assets or my educational journey for, let's say, a client or for a classroom, I would like to be able to take what I develop as a product, as a guide or a class or anything like that. I want to be able to manage that in a way that makes sense for right now and also for future. So when I started to think about, okay, I want to do this thing, I want to build this thing out, I had to think a little bit about how do I structure this so that everything can be repurposed, everything can be monetized, or everything can be essentially used for, in my environment of all of the intellectual property that I either have or will develop. And when I started to think about that, I realized, okay, there's definitely going to be a database behind this, and I have to think in those terms, not just in terms of what the end product is going to be, but how I'm going to manage it. And so the surprise for me came when I started to think through that, and I thought, wait, I'm not the only one who's going to need something like this. And when I talked about it with a couple of other folks who were like, "Does- that doesn't exist. It's something that's a good idea. I mean, right now everyone manages things with like a Google Drive or Evernote or, whatever note keeping and documents, and just it's just this big scattering of systems to help manage being an educator or a speaker. And so taking all of those components and putting them together was how Magister was born. And it all came from, wait, how am I going to do this? How am I going to manage this work if I do it?
Do you feel like there's something that you avoided doing because it scared you?
There was. I avoided, how do I monetize this? How do I put this in front of someone and say, this is worth something? And how do I come up with a price for that? And how do I do that in the world where you have Calendly and you have Zoom and you have Google Drive and you have all these other either content management or customer management software out there? How do I do that in the face of these environments already existing, but they don't do that in a way that serves one specific person? So I started to look through that and thought, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how I can price this, how I can say to someone, "Hey, this is worth your money because I'm going to make this a product that you can use for your business to make your business run faster and better." So if I didn't say it before, so Magister is a platform that helps speakers and educators manage their intellectual property and also the business side of being who they are.
And that it's so amazing that you've done that because I'm thinking, where does all of my IP lie? And it really lies spread across a bunch of LLMs, my
Right.
thinking partners, and
Um,
it's not in any one place. So that is beautiful and so necessary. So how did you get past that fear? Like, what did you do when the confidence disappeared to keep moving forward?
So when I decided that if they can, I can too. When I
Mhm.
decided that this isn't a scenario where just because they exist, I can't. So I thought, I'm just going to start out and build this thing out, not worry about pricing, not worry about what the revenue is going to be, and just worry about serving the way I would like to be served, essentially. So I started to build it out and I started to think, okay, I don't want to bloat this thing out and have all these features that don't make sense. I just want to have what really is important to an educator or to a thought leader, right? And as I started to build, I thought, okay, if I'm delivering on all of these things, it's got to be something that is worth the investment. And I know that looking at pricing models and looking at what I'm delivering versus what is being priced out was something that I did a little bit of research on. But then I told Perplexity, here, you do it for me because I don't want to figure this out. I'm going to lean on you. And I partnered with my LLMs and saw and just decided, like, you're going to do the hard work. I'm just going to ask you the questions. And once I started to do that, I started to gain a little bit of confidence with my LLMs and why I started to use what I started to use. So when Perplexity was in charge of looking at, what are the different pricing models for features that exist in other platforms that kind of align with what I'm doing, I started to piece that all together and I started to come up with a better pricing idea. So I'll at some point, I don't know if we're gonna do that today, but we can walk through a little bit of that.
Oh,
Um,
do. Yeah, dive.
okay, essentially, I just wanted to have it where the features that I have are usually spread across multiple things. So like MailChimp or Canva or, things like that. And I'm not saying that I'm recreating those, but if a speaker is going to launch a class and they have their intellectual property in Magister, but they also have the ability to create a landing page that's just a quick little landing page, nothing extremely fancy. It just serves its purpose, allows people to enroll. allows people to pay for their enrollment, and moves them through the pipeline and also adds them to the CRM. Like, I needed all of that to exist in one place. And so I started to think in those terms. And that's how Magister started to really take shape. Right now, it's still like, I want to say it's very, very in the developmental stage, because I have a few more things that I need to do, because I got access to Fable and I started to tinker around, and it put me back a little bit, but it's going to push me forward in a way that I wasn't expecting. And so that's another part of the journey is, the tools change, the things that become available change over time. And so that spurred another round of development.
Right, and you can refine
Mhm.
constantly,
Oh, yeah.
getting that
Absolutely.
30,000-foot view. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What part of entrepreneurship is harder, you think, than what people admit?
Overthinking.
Mm, yeah,
Overthinking is it. That's it.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. What part is better, do you think?
Having the freedom to, you have an idea and now you can just execute this idea. Before November 2022, executing on an idea took money, took time, took other people, took so many other things that were just not feasible for a lot of entrepreneurs. And now there's a level playing field. You can do a lot even with just a free account. So there's a lot more power to an entrepreneur than there was pre-November 2022.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was thinking about this yesterday. I had a meeting and there were a lot of yeses, right? Just a lot of yes, okay, we can go for it. Oh, yes, we can do
Yes.
yes, because you realize there are so many tools now that have removed certain barriers
Mhm.
that I found myself just being totally transparent by the end of the day with a pint of ice cream in my hand staring at a wall. Oh, overwhelmed by the fact that there were no barriers. So it was like, okay, hang on a second. Shit. That's just wait a minute. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so I'm wondering for you, from one person that I need this help, from one
Yes.
person to another, what systems or routines help you like stabilize and
So
stick on a path?
I'll tell you, and this is going to be a little different than a lot of what I've heard, because, it's a little unconventional, but isolation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I had this moment where I started with ChatGPT, then Gemini, then, as a model came out, I would jump into it immediately. Like, okay, let me figure this thing out. Let me work with it. Let me try, let me experiment. So I'm an experimenter and I'm like, I really want to do this. And I have a method for doing these things. And I had an approach for it. And I thought, I really want to observe how these different models perform. And that was a big deal. And when I did that, there was this overwhelm of, oh, this new model came out, this other model came out, this other thing came out, the headline saying this, it was just a lot to really take in and to do something with it, like make it useful to me, make it something that I can feel like I have some either understanding of it or working knowledge of it, right? And I got to the point where I was just like, I need to just stop. And when I stopped and I took a step back, I really had this feeling that that sense of urgency that I need to hurry up and learn it and I need to hurry up and perform kind of quieted. And it helped me look at, okay, what is my purpose for using this model? What is my purpose for jumping in as the headline's coming out? Is it really that important for me to jump in now? Or can I take some time to really find the purpose, find my north, look at what's really happening here, and how can I leverage my purpose against that model? It's like I don't want it to be the other way around. I just want to be working in a way that serves me, not the hype, not the model, not, oh, I'm able to do it and therefore I can say I'm an AI expert. I wasn't ever chasing that label of I'm an AI expert or anything like that, but I was just looking for the ability to say I'm comfortable with this and here's what I did with it and these are my results, without being pulled into that sense of urgency or you're missing out or you're falling behind. So this idea that we're falling behind leads to that overwhelm. So I started to fight that as soon as I started to realize, like, wait a minute, why am I doing all of this? Why am I trying Midjourney and all the image generators and all, like, I had to try them all. And I took a step back and I was like, well, for what? What am I doing it for? Oh, this is fun. This is entertaining. Great. What am I doing with it? So I really had to take some time to rethink why I wanted to do the keeping up and following the headlines and reading papers. And that's another thing. When this all started happening, I was reading papers. Well, I love papers, and I know this is a huge nerd thing to say, but I'm a close reader of papers. So you'll see my notes and in the margins and my highlights and my post-its with questions, and that's how I was doing things in my first approach. So my introduction to AI was very overwhelming because I tried to make it not just oh, I'm going to try and see how this works. It was more of an intellectual exercise. And eventually I surrendered that. I thought, I don't need to do that to participate as someone who is just enjoying the ride. Because if you really think about it, that the day ChatGPT became available to everyone, that day changed everyone. And I realized I didn't need to be in the papers in order to be part of the experience. And so I let that go. I let the overwhelm go, and I just went into a little bit of isolation and thought, okay, what if I don't look for the latest YouTube video that's talking about the latest model, or I don't read the latest Reddit threads or any of those things, right? What if I just quiet things down? And when I did that, I also was looking for a way to share my experience that wasn't also overwhelming. And I didn't want it to be $100 a month school course. And I didn't want it to be all the other things that were happening where, oh, you can make money with ChatGPT thing. And I wanted it to be a more community driven learning experience as opposed to like, oh, we're going to turn you into an expert. You're going to make all this money and blah. No, I wanted to have a different kind of experience. And so isolation came first, then searching or finding accidentally community. So that happened on TikTok with the AI salon, and I haven't looked back since. And I've been part of the AI salon for quite some time now. And I'm also part of the AI ambassadors program with the AI salon. So I'll give you a link for that if you want to join. It's free. It's a free community. And it is a community of very generous people who are there to share ideas, congratulate each other, share the wins, share the curiosities, share everything. And in a way that's very warm and very community driven. I just think it's a great community. And I also joined She Leads AI, which is a wonderful community for women who are really looking at leveraging AI. And I really resonated with that because I went to the She Leads AI conference, and it just all kind of opened up for me there. But it started there. It started with, first I went into isolation, then I went into community. And yes, I do have my moments where I take a step back and I go back and say, okay, how is this aligning with my purpose? So I still check with myself, like, just because Fable came out doesn't mean I'm going to rush to it and start spending my tokens. I'm like, nope, I didn't do that. I actually just started using it a couple of nights ago and maxed out my usage because I knew I had a purpose when I started to approach the use of that tool. So I aligned myself first, then I used it because I didn't want to have this moment where I'm like, oh, I ran out of it and now can't do anything. And I could have done this other thing, right? So that's how it kind of, and I go through this over and over. I know it sounds bizarre, but isolation
not
came
at
first.
all.
Quieting the noise, I should say, is probably a part of that. Is quieting the noise. And then I also unsubscribed from a lot of newsletters and a lot of, RSS feeds and a lot of alerts, and my email count, my inbox is insane. I don't want to get into it. But
Well, that's so much noise. Yeah.
it's a lot of noise, and it puts on pressure that we really don't need.
No, valid. I'm sure there's a lot of women nodding their heads in their car right now.
Yeah, I recommend just turn off your Reddit alerts, turn off your YouTube subscription alerts, turn off a lot of the feeds that you currently have. Go through them, and the ones that are not aligning with your purpose, the ones that are not aligning with what you're building or what you're thinking about or what you're dreaming about, just turn them off. And don't worry, you're not hurting their feelings. You will have more clarity, you'll have more peace as a result of just cleaning up your feeds and cleaning up your intake.
And what would you say to the woman listening who feels like she has this inkling of an idea she wants to build, but it's too late? There's probably 5 other exact same thing out there. What would you say to her?
Build anyway. Build anyway. Start with, your favorite model. Doesn't matter which one. If you have a greater amount of history with, let's say, ChatGPT, start with ChatGPT and say, hey, I have this idea. Here's what I'm thinking. And start to talk with ChatGPT or have conversations with ChatGPT about how you interact with ChatGPT. And so I started to do that as part of my journey. And it turned out to be really useful because I asked ChatGPT, what do you see as a pattern when I approach an idea? What do you see as an overarching idea or set of ideas that I might not be aware of as far as thinking patterns or ideas that I like or things that I gravitate towards, where I can take all of those ideas and maybe mix them up or do something with that so I can create something that's more personalized to me? Came from those questions. Came from questions where I was just like, all right, I feel like this needs to be managed better. This needs to be a better tool. How come I can't get this to work with this? And instead of asking these questions and how to get these tools to work together, I was like, well, why don't I just make my own where they all do work together?
Beautiful. So what's next for you on your founder journey?
I'm going to continue to develop Magister so that everyone who is on the platform is able to process their business from end to end. So acquisition all the way to, wrapping up an event and getting feedback. I want to be able to say that Magister provides very rich revenue attribution so that if someone appears on a podcast, they can say, oh, I have a link to my course, and that link leads to an enrollment. That enrollment leads to revenue. That revenue leads to so on, right? And building a community with that, and also being able to say, oh, this revenue came from my appearance on that podcast. It wasn't just a random thing. And I think people really struggle with revenue attribution because they do multiple things. Founders aren't just doing one thing. I have yet to meet a founder who has one project and they only do one thing. So I thought, okay, this has to be almost like a huge funnel, but be able to be customized for every appearance, every course, every speaking engagement, every teaching engagement. So I wanted it to be something where it's not a catch-all, but it is something where you can tie in where your efforts are really paying off.
I love that. I love that. And when somebody hears about this and they want to connect with you, where are they going?
LinkedIn is the most reliable way. My email inbox is an atrocious mess. So LinkedIn is the best way. So I'll give you a link to that. But that is the best way to connect with me and to reach out to me.
Oh my God. People are going to be doing that. So get ready.
Yeah.
Noemi, thank you so much for everything you've
welcome.
shared, your willingness to come on and share your journey. I think it's going to help a lot of women. So I appreciate the heck out of you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Empowered by AI, and I'm your host, Michelle Muncy Silva. If something from this episode clicked, don't let it stop here. Take one idea and try it out this week. And if you want to go deeper, head over to the Empowered by AI, the Slay Effect YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and join us there so you don't miss out on what's coming next. All the links and resources are in the show notes. I'll see you next time.